right, here we go. 1090 Jake, welcome back to VladTV.
Appreciate you.
A lot going on right now, but I think the first thing we got to talk about is the ASAP Rocky gun trial.
Did you see the video?
I saw the video. It's pretty wild.
That video right there would have had me take that plea, I'm gonna be honest. And I guess today they just said the reason he's not taking the plea deal is because it would have fucked all of his endorsements. But bro, your baby mom's is a billionaire. Like, why do you need endorsements? Right. For what?
Well, let's break down the whole case, because I went through and actually got all the details of it. So right now, ASAP Rocky is charged with 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. The backstory is ASAP Relly and ASAP Rocky were childhood friends, but things went a little left when Rocky got more famous. There was an argument that happened based on Rocky saying that he paid for one of his dead friends' body to get shipped back to New York for the funeral. And I guess he didn't do it. A day before the altercation, Relly said that he was in his friend ASAP Bari's car and he heard Rocky insult him in a phone call. So on November 6, 2021, Relly and Rocky agreed to meet up and settle their differences. Relly claimed that Rocky arrived with 2 men in a parking garage at the W Hotel in Hollywood. And they started to argue, and he said that Rocky pulled out a gun out of his waistband and fired 3 or 4 shots at Relly, grazing Nelly's knuckles. The actual argument was caught on surveillance video, which is what we were just talking about.
Right.
And we'll show a little bit of this in the background as we're talking about it. Now, the police didn't find any shell casings at the scene, but I guess Relly went back to the scene with his girlfriend and found some shell casings and turned them over to the police. Now, we don't know whether those are actual real shell casings from the shooting or not. Now, Rocky was arrested in April of 2022. He got out on $550,000 bond. Now, Rocky actually has a carry permit and legally owns guns, and the police found legal guns at his house. So, at the preliminary hearing, Rocky's lawyer said that Relly basically fabricated everything and he's trying to get a payout. Now, we fast forward to this week. So right before jury selection happened on Tuesday, ASAP Rocky's lawyer, for the first time ever, brought up a new piece of what they call evidence, but really it's just a statement from ASAP Rocky's friend ASAP 12 that the gun that Rocky had wasn't a real gun, it was a prop gun or a starter pistol that doesn't actually fire real bullets. Now, this is kind of interesting because if you have a carry permit and you're going to meet, you go to meet with someone who you have problems with, why would you bring a starter pistol with you?
That, and at the same time, his friend saying that is just confirming the weapon. And I don't know, I wouldn't want my friend to say anything like that. I mean, the video looks like somebody that looks like Rocky. I don't know who that is, but you see something in somebody's hand, you don't see a shooting, you don't see anything like that. If he's licensed to carry, he can have a gun. He felt threatened, whatever. It's however the defense wants to do it, as far as like how they plan on taking it in court. But the big thing for me is before you go to trial, pre-trial, that's usually when you get your best offer. So if they're offering him, like 60 days in jail, probation, etc., that's a sweet deal.
No, it's not exactly that. So he's offered 180 days in jail.
Okay.
Around 6 months, but keep in mind this is a state case, so it's probably going to be maybe 4 months before he gets out, right?
Right, but what's the max?
180 days in county jail, 3 years probation, and a 7-year suspended prison sentence.
Right.
Meaning that if you mess up during that time, you'll get the full 7 years.
But what does he get if he blows trial?
24 years max.
So that's my point. So like for me, when I was going through my shit, I was facing up to life. Pre-trial, they give me 3 years. They're offering him papers, like they're gonna offer you some stupid shit like, oh yeah, 7 years suspended sentence, whatever. But if you got a shooting charge where you can get up to 24 years and they're like, yo, we'll give you 180 days, some probation, whatever, you can assume that if you take it to trial, it's gonna go your way. So it's like, I don't know, that's a sweet deal for something that carries a lot of time.
Well, what's interesting about where the case is right now is that during the pretrial hearings, Rocky's lawyer never mentioned anything about a prop gun.
Right.
A day before jury selection, he suddenly brings up this whole prop gun defense. They have a witness named ASAP 12, who's been with ASAP Rocky this whole time. I've always heard this name, right? They're friends forever. He is the witness that's going to say that it was a prop gun. Now, the defense is saying this is like an ambush. You know, there was no mention of this. And they want to interview ASAP 12, but Rocky's lawyer said he doesn't want to talk. And the judge is saying, well, you can still question him. Now, if he doesn't want to talk, it's up to him, but you can still question him. But they're basically saying how this is like an ambush type of, you know, situation because no one was told about this. And it seems like the whole defense is based on this one witness.
I mean, Cali's tough, bro, because I feel like we see so many rappers just beating cases left and right, especially if they got some money. You know, everything that just happened in Atlanta, YSL, Lucci, all those type of plea deals, young boy, this and that. So it's like, if you think about who got the most money, if Rihanna's funding his lawyer, you would think that nothing's going to happen to him. But the Tory Lanez situation, he got fucked and he went to prison. So it's like, it's hard to say. I'm interested in where it goes. But normally if a video comes out, that's kind of where you want to sign that paper.
Well, Rocky was given the plea deal and he responded, you know, well, the judge asked, have you read through the plea deal? And Rocky said, in detail, Your Honor, and I respectfully decline, thank you. The judge said, all right, you understand that you never know what a jury's going to do. If it happens that it doesn't go your way, people who are convicted of this crime, they go to custody and then they go to prison. Yes, Your Honor, Rocky said. Now, the judge said that he won't get any special treatment. Your status as an entertainer, your status as a significant other of Rihanna, that's not going to go to your benefit. It's not going to go to your harm. If you're convicted, you'll go to custody. It's very likely you'll get a significant prison sentence. You're aware of that? Yes, Your Honor, I'm well aware, Rocky said. All right, and you're not interested in a plea deal, says the judge. No, Your Honor. So the judge says, okay, then that takes care of it. It seems like the judge is almost telling him he should take the plea deal.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's just in all fairness, though, right? Because the judge is probably looking at him like he's an entertainer. He's taking a big risk here. It could go south, but a lot of people don't remember Rocky was on Rikers Island back in the day. Mm-hmm. Met Casanova on Rikers Island, was in that bitch fighting. So He kind of has an idea of what he's doing. He's been in there before. He doesn't seem scared to go back. He knows what time it is. So it's like the judge is like, yeah, you know, if you don't sign off, you're going to get fucked if it goes bad. But it could also go great. That's the thing. And I'll say this too, because this just happened. Shout out to my boy Bemba. He caught a case all over the news. There was a Ring camera that's saying he's running up with a gun, doing shit, whatever. He was just in the county in Miami for 4 years, just beat the entire thing right before trial. Was facing a mandatory life sentence. So it's like video evidence, they're saying it's him, this and that, beat the whole fucking thing after 4 years in the county. So now bro's home, and it could be the same situation for Rocky. And I mean, he's got fucking endless amounts of money. It's just, trial is trial. It's a gamble.
Well, I was talking to Megan Cuniff, a.k.a. Megan the Reporter, who's actually there every day at this trial. And what she said was very interesting because Rocky said that, yes, he was shooting, but he was shooting up in the air because Relly was following him as he was walking away. What she said is that the jury can 100% believe it's a fake gun and still convict him if they feel that Rocky pointed and fired at him, even with a fake gun.
Well, what was the charge again?
The charge was 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So assault, it doesn't even have to go off. Assault is fucking this. That's assault. You point it. I'm going to shoot you. That's assault. It has nothing to do with that bitch going off. You don't even have to have a fucking gun. My gun case, I got charged with armed assault with intent to rob by means of a dangerous weapon, a firearm. That was in Boston. They never found a gun on me. You walk up and say, I'm going to shoot you, that's an assault charge. So it doesn't really matter if you squeezed it or not because it can still be used. It's the same shit as you rob somebody with a BB gun. If they think it's a gun, you're going to get punished as if it was a gun. So it's like, that right there, I don't think that really makes a difference.
Well, some people complain because out of the 106 people in the jury pool, only 6 were black. And they actually finally picked the jury, 7 women, 5 men, no black people on the jury. Do you think that really matters?
I mean, if I was black, I'd probably want to see some black people on the jury. Yeah. Fucking, I hope one of these white people listen to Rihanna or some shit. Like, I don't know. I want somebody to somewhat fucking relate to me and, you know? So.
Yeah, I mean, the trial's supposed to last 3 weeks. You know, he's got Trump's lawyer, he's got all the money in the world, but, oh man, I would have taken that 180 days. Me personally, right now, DJ Vlad in 2025 with this exact same case with the money I have, I'm not going to roll the dice with 24 years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I mean, come on. You're talking about 6 months in county jail. They'll put him in PC. You know, they'll separate him. Obviously, he's a big celebrity. He'll do his time. He'll get out, go back to his mega mansion and his private jets and so forth. You know, will he lose his endorsements and so forth? Who cares? His girl's a billionaire.
Right.
You know? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm almost thinking this will turn into like a Tory Lanez kind of situation.
Yeah, if it does,
What do you
it's going to
think?
be a sad story because, you know, I agree with you. I would do that. I would sign off and take the plea, especially if they got a video of me fucking, yeah, I'm taking the plea. Taking the plea and then I'm doing an
Well,
interview with you right after. Fucking, that's how we're going to do it.
I mean, yeah, you have a cooperating witness. The victim is cooperating. And just like in the Megan Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez trial, there's someone pointing the finger and say, that man shot at me.
Yeah.
He had a reason to shoot at me. We were arguing. I was mad at him about this. You know, he was mad at me about that. There was a scuffle. And then he pulled out a gun and shot at me. He grazed my knuckles. That's an interesting one. You know, because if it's a starter pistol, nothing could graze your knuckles. So if there's,
Well,
but then again,
if you're close enough, that fire coming out of that bitch can still fuck you up.
right. But it seemed like he's firing from a distance.
Yeah, then
Doesn't
I
seem
don't
like he was
know.
like point blank.
I mean, bro, he could have just rubbed his knuckles off the concrete and said that Rocky did it. Like, we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That part's a little weird. And they also said that I guess that Relly's trying to file a civil lawsuit against Rocky as well. And I guess they even approached him about a civil lawsuit before the trial, almost implying like, hey, just pay this guy off and we'll drop the whole thing, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, from Rocky's point of view, I don't know why he didn't just do that. If
Ego.
the guy just wanted like $1 million, over a 24-year potential sentence, like here you go, just take it.
It's like extortion though.
I mean, every civil lawsuit is extortion.
Yeah.
Every single one. Anyone that says it's not about the money, of course it's about the money. There's a money amount that goes with every trial, every civil trial. I'm suing you for $1 million. I'm suing you for 100,000. It's always extortion to some degree, but come on, man. You got 2 babies, married, not married, but you're, seriously with Rihanna. 4 months in jail and just the whole thing goes away. Okay, so you lose your Gucci deal. Who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, and will you really lose your deal because you pled guilty to a shooting? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, you remember that one guy, he was a felon with a teardrop and he got like a whole modeling contract off his mugshot. He left his baby mama and got with some bitch that was the daughter of like a billionaire and fucking his career took off. So it was like, I don't understand why they would all just drop him, but I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I hope it goes well for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's flaw as fuck that his own friend is doing all this extra shit. Because it seemed like his friend is really trying to take him out. And he's doing it in the most pussy way possible. But it is what it is.
Well, okay. if your friend shot at you over just a slight physical confrontation, don't you think that a lot of people would do the same thing?
There's a lot of people that would do other things too, though.
When you talk about an ASAP Rocky, I don't think you could retaliate very quickly in a situation like that, right? Rocky is with Rihanna, who's a billionaire. There's top-notch security everywhere they go. You're not just gonna run into ASAP Rocky in the mall and, you know, punch him in the face while he's eating some P.F. Chang's. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna happen. You're not really gonna get back unless you actually go through the court system. I'm not saying what he's doing is right or wrong, but
that's what I mean by that's some whole shit is like, a lot of people do that shit out of revenge. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't do anything to you myself, so I'm gonna do it this way. And I'm gonna have them punish you. Like, that's what I mean by that's some whole shit. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't die. Your knuckle got grazed, allegedly. You know what I mean? But y'all are having this whole little fucking feud, and then the second you get touched, oh, I'm suing, I'm pressing charges, I'm cooperating, I'm going back to the scene and playing fucking detective and finding shell casings. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that part actually made me chuckle a little bit. So the police don't find shell casings, but he goes back
but
and
you
actually
did
find some shell casings.
Like, how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah, but then I don't know how you would tie some random shell casings to the shooting, because then you don't have the gun, right? I'm pretty sure that if Rocky shot an actual gun, I don't think he'd take the gun back to his house and put it back on a shelf. You know what I'm saying? I think that gun is somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really know, man.
Fucking crazy.
I don't really know. Tory Lanez is still locked up, but Megan Thee Stallion actually got a 5-year restraining order against him.
Yeah.
You heard about this?
Yeah, when she was like, I don't know if he's gonna get out and try to shoot me again.
Yeah, and she said, this time around he might actually kill me.
Okay.
But I guess the part that doesn't make sense is, because I guess this is based on, they're saying that Tory Lanez was getting these bloggers to write these fake stories about Megan, and I guess the dad was actually paying the blogger through Zelle, and they kind of found this whole connection thing, and that was partly the basis of this restraining order. But he's doing 10 years. You get a 5-year restraining order. What does that exactly, what do you accomplish with that? He can't get close to you anyways. He's in jail.
Are they deporting him after he gets out?
I'm almost positive that they are.
Yeah, so it's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know how somebody can go from, like, so traumatized to shaking ass next to Kamala Harris and then right back to traumatized in the courtroom. He's gonna kill me. And then you in the music video just clapping it. Like, I'm not really buying that shit. I don't think Tory Lanez is a threat. I didn't think he should have went to prison in the first place, but it is what it is.
Well, no, I think he shot at her. I think that jury saw all the evidence and made the logical decision that he shot at her. I don't know if he was trying to kill her. I think there was a fight that happened between the two girls, and maybe he got involved and probably got thrown around a little bit because he's kind of smaller than everybody. And he, I think he
That's
took the gun.
probably why he popped, bro, because she's big. He's little.
Listen, me and Whack 100 had a whole argument about who would win a fist fight, Tory Lanez or Megan Thee Stallion. If they just went all out.
I'm putting my money on her.
On who?
On her.
Yeah, me too.
She's big.
Yeah, she's big, and she's got some girth to her. You know what I mean?
She look like if she just kicked him in the chest, his shit's gonna be folded. I don't know. So, he might have had the whatever, but I don't feel like he was out there really trying to kill her. And that's what I mean. Like, even if he popped it and it just hit the floor, whatever, I don't feel like the intent was there. And I damn sure don't feel like he's gonna get out. Oh yeah, now I gotta go fucking assassinate Meg Thee Stallion. Like, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's trying to kill her. I think he shot at the floor, was like, dance, bitch. And, shot down, not thinking about what's going to happen with those bullets after they start ricocheting.
Yeah.
And I think they ricocheted and they hit her foot. The fragments hit her foot. And it was like, oh shit, I didn't expect that to happen. But when you start shooting off guns, you're not going to say, I didn't mean to shoot her, I accidentally shot her, I should be let free. No, you shot her. Once you shoot a gun, whatever happens after that is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Saying I wasn't trying to do it, I was just trying to scare her, whatever else, nah. You shot the gun, that's a charge right there. Some fragments hit her, that's another charge right there. She's pointing the finger at you. 12 people agreed with her, now you're in jail. You know, and I think the thing that I learned the most about that case is that never, ever, 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 ever think the court of public opinion actually matters in a real courtroom.
Yeah.
Because everyone, especially the hip hop world, the world I live in, oh, he's going free, she's a liar, he did nothing, DNA evidence, gun, residue, rah, 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 rah. All that didn't matter. You know, I think he was thinking, okay, yeah, look, I got the public behind me, I'm going to walk free. Guilty, 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 guilty. All 12 people down in jail doing 10 years, going to get deported once he gets out. I know there's some various appeals that they're putting together, and like, you know, some people think that there's enough to get it thrown out. I haven't seen that yet. I think that ultimately he's going to serve his time and get deported and, you know, just go on with his career after that.
Yeah, and he's in one of the worst prison systems in the country. So that's another element that a lot of people don't consider. California doesn't fuck off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I heard he's doing okay. Seems like he's in good spirits. I'm sure he's got lots of fans in there. Probably got some people protecting him. Yeah, he'll get through it.
Yeah.
Well, I recently did a couple interviews with some YSL guys.
Mm-hmm.
The original interview was with YSL Mondo, but he wanted to fly some people in, you know, for the interview as well. And one of the people was YSL DK.
Right.
Who was a YSL co-founder. And during the interview, I brought up your allegations about him cooperating.
Mine?
Well, I brought the video that you made about him.
Not my allegations. That's the courtroom allegations. Because that allegation came from court paperwork. So the thing is, right? It ain't really like I gave a fuck about any of them. It's as the YSL trial went on, you had a lot of people pointing the finger at Gunna, when in all actuality, a lot of other people told in different cases. But the energy wasn't the same for everyone else. So the Mondo situation, me and him spoke on academics. And I never did anything about Mondo. I never did a video on him, anything like that, whatever. And I watched the interview y'all did, and I respected how he more or less answered the questions. There was no disrespect or anything. Me and him don't have an issue. But what I pointed out was, I believe he said something about Gunna. And I was like, well, your brother DK is a rat. And that's how everything came about. And I seen the interview that you did with DK speaking on the situation.
Well, from what I understand, there was a situation that happened in 2013 on Cleveland Ave. It was some insane shooting involving cops going over through the gate, driving into a pole.
I mean, I can run you through it real quick because I listened to the video I did on the way. Basically, they tried to stick somebody up and, you know, shit didn't work out. And they did it while the police were in the apartment complex on a separate investigation. So the police see what's happening. They pull up. A shooting happens. DK and another guy get shot in the back seat while the driver takes off. So they ended up banging it out with the police. They claimed the driver claimed he didn't know that they were the police. So he just took off, whatever. Now, apparently the guy, it wasn't a robbery, even though I guess that was the charge. It was a confrontation between DK and this kid named Derek Dotson. So the confrontation went how it went. A short time later, Derek Dotson pulls up and shoots at DK and pistol whips his baby mom. When he does that, he ends up getting charged. DK and his baby mother get called into a grand jury and testify against Derek Dotson. What that means is, in the grand jury, they're trying to get enough evidence to charge you with a case. So they bring in the two victims. This one got shot at. This one got pistol whipped. They testify. He gets the case. He ends up dying before the case is concluded. So that's why I say DK ratted. You went in front of a grand jury with your baby mama and testified against Derek Dotson. Your testimony 100% gets used against him. And then if he goes to trial, you get called in as a witness against him. But he ended up dying before the trial.
Yeah, I brought up the whole grand jury. He said, I've never testified in any grand jury.
Yo, no, I bet. Yeah, I'm sure he said that. That's great. But you go on the fucking court site and it says a whole lot differently. So he can say whatever he wants to. His paperwork doesn't say that.
1090 Jake, he did a video about you.
Yeah.
And what he claimed in the video was that you had cooperated with the grand jury against someone who ended up killing themselves at one point, so you never actually testified against them. Is that accurate?
How do you cooperate with a grand jury?
Well, you gave a statement in a grand jury.
A grand jury? I ain't never even seen a grand jury.
Okay, so you've seen the video.
No,
you've never seen it.
I never seen it.
Okay, so he basically said that you cooperated. Can you explain?
I know what situation he's talking about, though.
What is he talking about?
He's talking about the same situation I was just telling you that happened on Cleveland Avenue when we wrecked the car. Police, I got shot that day.
Okay.
The dude who's dead used to date my cousin. His name is Dirty Red. Some shit happened with me and him. I handled the situation. I got locked up. He's the victim in the case. So how could I tell him the victim? First of all, that's backwards. His real name is Derek Dotson, or I think, right? I'm right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Derek something. Derek Dorsey, Derek Dotson, something like that. He's the victim in the case. How could I'm the suspect. I got arrested. Armed robbery, aggravated assault, aggravated assault on a police officer. All this happened September the 11th, 2013. The day they was trying to say that Thor was in the car with me. So how could I tell on the victim? Jake, wherever you, what your name is?
1090 Jake.
What did 1090 stand for?
I don't remember.
Yeah, beat it, man. Go on. You don't even know me. You just come in on my life, made a whole video about me. Why don't you just ask me, bro? I'll tell you. If I did, I did. You ain't gonna do nothing about it.
Yeah, what's interesting about this whole case, and we talked about this on camera, was that what the DA was trying to say was that Young Thug was in the car when all this was happening. And DK was saying, no, Young Thug wasn't in the car. Because if Young Thug was in the car, then now Young Thug has a whole new case to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But DK has always maintained that Young Thug was not in the car. And this is where kind of the haziness comes in, and this is why he got wrapped up in the whole RICO case and everything else like that.
And that's what makes the situation look beautiful. Like, yeah, you didn't tell on your friend, but you told on your enemy. So it's like, even if you didn't make it to trial, you know, if you want to change the terms, if you got a wife and you texting another bitch and, oh, we're going to link up on this day and we're going to fuck and we're going to and then she gets hit by a car and you don't get to hit her, but then your wife finds out that you were talking to another bitch, she's going to be like, you still cheated. You just didn't get to fuck her. You're still told. You just didn't make it to trial. It's the same shit. You know, but what he did say that I did agree with is he was like, he basically said, so what? Like, 1090 Jake ain't gonna do nothing. You fucking right. I don't give a fuck that you told. I'm just gonna make my money talking about it on the video. That's it. I don't personally care. You feel me? That's between you and whoever the fuck you fuck with. But that's what the situation was.
I mean, look, he said he took the stand in the YSL RICO trial. And he essentially took the same plea deal that Gunna took and Young Thug took. I mean, he admitted that YSL was a gang and blah, 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 and he got to go home.
Right.
And I mean, I'll be honest, like, I felt like DK was one of the most mature guys that I talked to. Like, in terms of the whole situation, he goes, look, man, I'm grown. I got a wife. I got kids. I've done a boatload of jail time. I got shot. My spine was broken. Like, all this, who's snitching, who's this, who's that, is Gunna this, is Woody that. He's like, I honestly really don't care about any of this stuff. We're all grown men and people make their own decisions.
Right.
And people take care of their families, and I don't care about what the internet says and so forth. And honestly, I kind of respected that.
Nah, I mean, he even on the news, he was saying, you know, God got him and his faith's going to get him through his situation. And like I said, I don't personally got shit against dude. But I know when you told him my name, he was like 1090. What does that mean? How the fuck you don't know what that means? Y'all supposed to be bloods.
I forgot what 1090 meant. I'm sorry.
Well, he should know.
What does it mean again?
Mondo, I'm not even going to speak on it. I'm just saying, if they supposed to be what they supposed to be, they should fucking know. So
Okay.
We'll just leave it at that. But I don't got no personal issue with DK. I don't give a fuck about DK, to be honest.
Well, since our last interview, Young Thug pleaded and he got time served and walked away. And
Right.
I remember we talked about this a few times. You know, you were saying that if he pled guilty, he'll probably get a significant amount of time and so forth. Were you surprised that he just got time served?
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised at the whole ending, and then I was more surprised by the other guy beating the case.
Right. Yak Gotti actually legitimately beat it.
So then everyone was like, fuck, what if Thug would have beat it? You know what I mean? It's like, but it's such a gamble, bro. It's like when you cash out on a parlay. And if you just held on a little longer, you would have won it all, but you still took a win. You know? And the fact that you could have lost every fucking thing is major. I feel like as long as Thug can do what he needs to do and he's comfortable, there should never be a violation of any issues. You know what I mean? Because I don't think anybody in YSL right now wants to do anything illegal. I don't think anyone wants to do anything. I think everybody's been humbled enough to sit the fuck down and everybody can just do them. You know, everybody's getting careers off of the shit. Woody's fucking lit right now. You know what I mean? DK, Mondo, they're getting interviews. Nobody's really... So it's like, if they're smart, they're going to take advantage of the fame they got from the trial and try to turn it into something.
Well, what's funny is that I actually talked to Lil Woody the other day, and he's mad at me over the interview I did with Mondo and some of the stuff that Mondo said about him. And
What did he say?
I don't exactly remember, but, you know, he basically doesn't like Woody, and, you know, he said, you know, that he stopped being around Thug when Woody came around, and, you know, I think he took a few shots at him. And the thing is that what Woody has to understand is that all the attention he's getting is because of this YSL case.
Right.
As time goes on, unless he really reinvents himself as just an overall internet personality, the desire for people to pay him to talk about this case is going to go down over time.
Yeah, it's going to die out.
Right? Yeah. It's going to die down unless he reinvents himself, unless he becomes, you know, Woody the stand-up comedian, or he starts his own YouTube channel or whatever else. We don't know. But, you know, I really want to have a follow-up conversation with him. He'll probably see this when it comes out. It's like, listen, like when we do this, we all sign up to be public property, right? We're all public property. We put stuff out and people will comment on us, and, you know, people will come in and maybe on the same platforms and so forth. You can't really take it too personally. You can't be mad at Vlad for interviewing someone that doesn't like you and they say a few things on the platform. It doesn't mean that Vlad doesn't like you as well. Like, we're all here and we're all in the content game, and we can't get too bent out of shape when someone says something about us that we may not like, and, you know, we don't want to fuck with the platform anymore because they put someone on and so forth. Like, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Keep it moving. If someone's offering you some money, if someone's on a big platform, you know, allowing you to get back on there, you shouldn't really take it too personally and get mad at them and say, I don't want to do it, or I'm going to charge you twice this much, and then it ends up not happening. It's like, yo, you got some energy, you got some people that are out actually putting money in your pocket, take it, because a year or 2 years from now, you don't know if this is going to be the case anymore. And you may have to go back to doing what you were doing before just to support your kids.
Right,
you see
but
what I'm saying?
I'll say this, though, just to be fair. If I'm into it with somebody and you interview me and you interview them right after, and then you reach back out to me to do an interview as a rebuttal, I'm not going to want to do it. Because to me, the host, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, anybody, the host is fueling the fire of something that could lead into something else. Because whatever the fuck he says on your platform, you gave him your platform to say it. And now you want me to come back to respond to something that essentially your platform is profiting of or off. So I wouldn't want to do that, because it's like shit can get messy quick, you know? And I'm not going to name platforms, but I know platforms that have done similar shit to this. And it's not going to be on the platform that something happens. It's going to be outside of that, and it could turn into a whole nother type of situation. So I understand that perspective, but Woody kind of slow, bro, and I think that's why people like him, because he's like a little retarded, but he's genuine, and he's fucking funny. So it's like he's got that going for him. If he can stick to like the Charleston White 20 verse 1 type situations, he can probably take off. But I don't know if he's somebody I would just want to like sit and listen to having his own podcast or something. And like you said, you can only get asked about this YSL shit so many times before it's like, all right, we heard this before.
Well, look, I didn't call him and say, hey, do you want to respond to YSL Mondo? That wasn't even the conversation. The conversation was, after our first interview, he said, look, once this trial is done, there's a bunch of stuff that I want to talk about that I can't talk about now. And I want to come back to your platform and do it. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now, look, if I have YSL Mondo on my show, the interview was not about Woody. It was about the relationship with Thug, him co-founding YSL, and the whole story. Woody just happens to be part of that story.
Nah, that makes sense. But now if somebody came out and was like, oh, fuck, Woody interviewed me and you solely did it for that, I'd be like, all right, that's crazy. You feel me? But I understand your perspective of, look, I'm bringing on another key figure in this situation, and you're a key component, so don't take it personally. Just take it for what it is, and let's keep it pushing.
Exactly. I didn't know what he was going to say about Woody. Woody was a small part of the overall interview. And, you know, yeah, he didn't like Woody. And he said what he said, but that's going to happen in the grand scheme of things. Like, I understand that I have friends who bring on people that don't like me sometimes. And sometimes my name gets mentioned along the way. And sometimes I even get a call. You know, like, I remember Charlamagne interviewed someone I don't like. And they mentioned me. He called me and said, hey, you know, so-and-so said this about you. Do you want me to cut it out? And I'm like, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's like, whatever. I don't care. Like, if I'm part of this person's story, go ahead, rock with it. Life goes on. But Woody, I feel like, took it really kind of personally. He basically said, everyone that talks about me, I watch the videos, and I think he internalizes it. And I don't know. Maybe I just caught him on the first day or something. You know, because what I said was, I also interviewed DK, and DK actually spoke highly about you. So I'm not just picking and choosing. I got people that don't like you. I also got people that do like you. And those people even know each other. They're like brothers. So what do you want me to do? I can't just bring on people that just love you and, you know, are shouting you out the whole time. I mean, this is us. Bunch of people like Vlad and Jake, and a bunch of people hate Vlad and Jake. And that's just the reality of life.
That's a fact, yeah.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Well, Young Thug gets his plea deal. 15 years probation, which I think he could do. I think he's learned his lesson sitting in that jail cell as a multimillionaire long enough to know, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not thugging it out anymore.
Right.
Yak Gotti still has the rest of his trial at that time, but then Wack 100 releases a video of Yak Gotti in the interrogation room basically cooperating.
Yeah, but none of that was new though, bro, because I been spoke on all that shit.
Right. I actually found an old video of you talking about that interrogation video without the actual footage, and then the footage comes out.
I already had all the paperwork. I already talked about it. He just went and got the video, And, you know, Wack, as much as me and Wack have had our little discrepancies, Wack knows how to play chess. So, you know, I got a video of Gunna. Everybody's like, where's this shit at? Oh, never mind, it's Yak Gotti, you feel me? But you got everyone's fucking attention, though. Whether it was an accident or it was just a well-planned fucking thing. But, yeah, I've been put that shit out there.
So it was a long video, so I didn't really get to watch the whole thing. What exactly did Yak Gotti say that was problematic?
We'll be honest, I don't even remember. That shit was so long ago. I didn't watch it when it came out because I knew I already covered it. You know what I mean? I would have to go back to my video and see it. I just know that, I think from my thumbnail, bro, they gave Yak Gotti food, cigarettes, like all type of shit. So if you're hanging out and it looks like you just came out of a 7-Eleven, you got food, drinks, cigarettes, fucking all that shit, you're most likely doing a little bit too much talking because that's to keep you talking. You know what I mean? That's to keep you going. We're gonna make sure you're nice and satisfied. Fucking got a female detective rubbing his back in that bitch, like. But yeah, that's how that shit went.
Well, the video gets released, and then Yak Gotti gets stabbed in jail, like the day after. Now, I talked to a few people about this, and they all said one had nothing to do with the other. That there had actually been multiple altercations that Yak Gotti was going through during that time.
Yeah, it was just timing.
But then the trial happens, and he was found not guilty. And I actually interviewed his lawyer, Doug Weinstein, and we went through the whole thing. I don't know if you saw the interview or not, but he actually had a really, really good breakdown of how it all came together. And he basically said, like, this was his first criminal trial ever. He's not like that type of lawyer, but being in the presence of Brian Steele and all these other like super high-end lawyers, like he learned a lot. And, you know, he basically let them take the lead in a lot of this, you know, in a lot of the defense. So ultimately they won, but I guess because of an assault that happened in jail, he had a superseding indictment, and that actually kept him in jail. I guess they're trying to give him like four years or something like that.
For a jail stabbing or
something like that, yeah. Some sort of aggravated assault in jail. So he's still in jail as we speak.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having an interrogation video drop and then fucking you're in the middle of a gang war inside a jail and you can't get out.
Yeah, no, that jail is horrible. I think I looked it up and there were like 400 stabbings last year.
Yeah.
So that's like a stabbing a day and 2 on certain days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Pee Wee Roscoe just got released.
Mm.
And that's the guy that shot up Lil Wayne's tour bus.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. From my point of view, it seems like Fonnie Willis completely dropped the ball on this whole case.
Yeah. I think that's also what happened with her trying to go after Trump, too. But it is what it is. Fucking, I'm happy for Thug.
Yep. Lil Durk.
Hey, you be hating on Durk, bro. I be seeing that shit. You don't ever got nothing nice to say about Durk. Ever. How come y'all into it?
Well, me and Durk were cool initially. Really cool. He did multiple interviews. We would hang out and talk. Like, we met up this one time in LA, chopped it up. He would tweet me in order for me to like repost the stuff that he was doing. Yeah. And it was just a cool relationship. Me and his brother D-Thing were cool. And he did an interview where he talked about his girl was pregnant and they're having a girl. And he asked me to take out the girl part. We took it out. But he's like, oh, I want you to take out the whole baby part. And by the time, it went through the system, we took it out. I guess that he felt it took too long and he was just mad at me from that point in. So he basically said, fuck Vlad in like a couple of different songs, right? I didn't really take that too seriously. It's like, whatever. People say, fuck Vlad all the time on everywhere, songs, podcasts, whatever else. But the whole thing with, me and Quando have always been cool. And we've done multiple interviews. I went down to Savannah, Georgia, did a whole interview with Quando. And we talked about the whole situation about how his cousin got killed and the, you know, just sort of the aggravation he went through that and how much it hurt and everything else like that. And then when I found out that Durk was behind the whole thing, I felt some type of way about it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But there's a whole lot of fucking evidence at this point. There's a whole lot of evidence.
A whole lot of fucking evidence. Yeah,
there's a lot of evidence. Now look, if you know, if it comes out, he's got Drew Finley representing him, right? That's my man. I interviewed him. Me and him talk. Like, he's also NBA YoungBoy's lawyer.
Yeah.
Just
it's a bad
very ironic.
Right yeah,
the two
that's
guys
crazy.
at the center of the beef are being represented by the exact same lawyer. Get a check for both of them. So, look. Now, if it's found out that he's completely innocent and he had nothing to do with it, then I'll publicly apologize and say, my bad, you know, I thought this, but actually it's that. So, you know, my apologies, you know. But if he really did put a hit out on Quando Rondo for a situation that I honestly feel was self-defense. Like, I honestly, truly, in my heart, feel, and I interviewed Lil Tim. Yeah. We went through the whole story. Lil Tim was not charged because of Georgia's stand your ground law. King Von was the aggressor.
Right.
He jumped on Quando for essentially no reason and attacked him, and he got killed by his security. If some guy that's bragging about being a serial killer jumps on me, I would expect my security to pull out a gun and kill him. Because I would assume this ain't gonna be just a fist fight.
But how can you assume that they're not gonna want to kill you after that though? Because no matter what, they still took a L, and you're talking about killers, bro. It's like you're talking about people that grew up smacking shit. So it's like it doesn't really matter how he got killed. It's the fact that he's dead, and you had an involvement, whether he started it or not. Then it just turns into what it turns into.
I think if you're a guy that's living in poverty and you're surviving off of crime, off of shooting people, robbing people, and a bunch of guys are looking at you like, yo, they just killed your man, you know, your street rep is now on the line for you to retaliate and so forth. Okay, I kind of understand that frame of thinking. When you're worth tens of millions of dollars, you're a major music star, you have a bunch of kids, you have a completely legitimate career, every major rapper is working with you, you have a bright future, you're creating multi-generational wealth. You need to leave that mentality behind you and say, look, my friend King Von started something that someone else finished. It was his fault. He was the aggressor. If he never touched this guy, we'd be doing shows together right now. It was his fault. Instead of, okay, now I gotta slide for Von. I gotta get revenge. I gotta revert to Lil Durk 15 years ago. I'm not gonna accept that. I'm just not gonna accept the lack of logic and the lack of maturity.
Well, I'll say this. I don't even think that was Durk 15 years ago. And it's like, you know, with all respect to him, when you hear about Vaughn in 2012 and the times around that era, they say he was shooting shit. You don't really hear the same story about Durk. So, in my opinion, one of the strongest drugs that people get addicted to is power. And you really don't understand how it feels until it hits. You can see it when you go to prison and you see some of these correction officers that you can tell were fucking nerds their whole life. But when they get that little officer badge and gas and the power to cuff you, beat you, do this and that, you see how that power consumes their persona. So when you get rich as fuck, and now you have the ability to, hey, take that. That ain't nothing but a chain. Take that, get rid of him. It's power, bro. So it's like, I'm not saying that's what happened with him, but that's very well what can happen with somebody once they reach that level.
who I recently talked to, by the way, for the first time. That was an interesting conversation. Yeah, me and Suge got on the phone. We actually talked a couple times. Yeah, interesting conversation. But anyways, someone like Suge, who grew up in a 2-parent household, had a pool in his backyard, wasn't a gangster. You know, he wasn't a Pyru blood like some of the people in his neighborhood. He was essentially a good kid, grew up, went to college, played football, and I think he played pro for a little while and so forth. Gets a ton of money, and then now he can push his weight around. Now all these Pyru bloods and everything else like that are now, they all want to be down, and he could tell them to go be violent with whoever he wants to be violent with and so forth, and they're willing to do whatever he wants them to do. And you fast forward 30 years, you see where Suge is right now. It's because of that pushing your weight around. I remember when VladTV first started, I started having a bunch of street guys around me. And I remember this one night at an event right here in New York City, I saw some guys that had done a video dissing me, and I'm like, yo, let's go talk to them. And my man like grabbed one of them up and threatened them. And like, these guys were terrified. And I remember thinking in my head, like, I'm never gonna do this again. Because I mean, ultimately they walked away, no one got hurt, no one got punched, no one got smacked, you know, and I'm not gonna say who these guys are, but they know who they are. But I'm like, okay, I got to get off this stupid mentality, because if this guy who had just gotten out of jail and was really like, I remember I looked at him, he had like blood in his eyes. Like he really wanted to do something to these guys. All I had to do was just tell him to go do it. And like, I'm like, yo, if he would have beat these guys up, they would all sue me. And then I would be charged with assault. And then he might go back to jail. I would have to pay all his lawyer fees. And I would feel horrible if he went back to jail, because at the time that was my friend. And I'm like, there's no wins here. Like, this is all different versions of losing. So from that point in, I got real security. I explained to them moving forward, we're never the aggressors in any situation. It's always self-defense. When we go out, unless somebody rolls up on me and threatens me, I'm not approaching someone in an aggressive manner ever again. And I never did it again. And you would think that Durk would have learned at that point, being as rich as he was, being as rich as, as long as he was rich, that he would say, okay, yeah, I got all these guys that'll crash out for me, but this is all going to come back to me eventually. So let me just not do that. But right now he's sitting in a federal holding facility, potentially facing life in prison.
Yeah, and then not only that, but everybody that was kind of under him, their careers weren't as big as his. So with him being out the way, the whole OTF and everyone kind of, it all kind of goes the same way.
Well, now, see, this is the fuzzy part to me. Maybe you know the answer. Because there was an announcement saying that the feds think he was involved in a second murder for hire for the guy that killed his brother D-Thing.
Yeah.
Now, is he being charged for that or no?
No. He hasn't been charged. They just brought it up. And we're like, hey, well, here's an example of another person that got smacked. But even in that, bro, like, it's not directly him, and I think that's why they're not charging him, because there isn't a direct, like, it's a lot of people around him that are allegedly making this happen and getting in contact with these people and money getting passed to that person, and, but he hasn't been charged with that. It was just brought up.
Well, from what I understand, the feds have hundreds of gigs of data. They have photos, videos, medical records, and they have a bunch of witness testimony. There's a bunch of co-conspirators on there whose names are redacted. Mm-hmm. And one of those is one of the shooters. And listen, I've gotten DMs from people who are essentially related to some of the other shooters, and they're telling me like that these guys have no real ties to Durk. They're not really like that. So they're surprised they even went along with this. Essentially, and they're saying like, these guys are probably going to cooperate. These guys are not going to do life in prison or 30 years for this guy because there's no real connection.
There's no loyalty.
They were just paid to do it, and now it didn't work out. You expect them to do 30 years over that? Probably not.
Right.
And these are not like, they don't have rap careers. They're not famous. They're not worried about, internet blowback. It's like, yo, all I got to do is fully cooperate against this guy and I might get 5 or 10 years. I think that's what's going to happen. So, look, I don't have anything personal against Durk. And ultimately, if it comes out that he didn't do it, then I'll say, okay, my bad. I was looking at all the evidence. It seemed like it was one way. It was shown that he was, let free. He was found not guilty. I'll say, okay, I was wrong in my assessment. But at this point, I feel like it's insane. I feel since, like the fact that you took a private jet with, was it OTF Vani, who essentially got the guns, got the cars, he was the driver with one of the cars that ended up doing all the shooting. Like, what are you doing with this guy right now?
No.
And what I've said, and I've had arguments with people about this, I said that if you are a successful person who's legally making money, there's no reason for you to be actively having friendships with active criminals. Now, I have a lot of close friends that used to be criminals, that have done jail time. Some of them have killed people. Some of them have sold tons of drugs, but they've turned their life around and now they're either YouTubers or they have legitimate businesses and so forth. And I completely respect all those people. But I don't have anyone around me that, if we go have dinner, they're going to go rob somebody afterwards. I don't have anyone around me in my life like that anymore.
Right.
And I don't understand why people like Durk surround themselves with people that are still out there robbing, shooting, scamming, whatever the hell else. Remember G Herbo got caught up in that one case with that one guy that was like buying all those fake, using fake credit cards to like buy private flights and hotels and everything else like that. Like, Herbo making real legitimate money. Like, why are you sitting there trying to save a few dollars by having some scammer pay for a private flight? Just fly first class. And then instead, the feds come pick you up. You got to spend $100,000 in lawyer, whatever money you saved, you spend in lawyers' fees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you agree with me? I mean, do you have friends still that are actively criminals right now?
I mean, fuck. I can't control what people do. You know what I'm saying? I'll say I've kept in contact with even people I was in prison with, and it's like people do what they do, bro. I'm not around that shit. I'm not going around that. I'm not around anything at this point. I'm not around gang members. I took all that shit off my Instagram a while ago. Any pictures of me with groups, and it doesn't serve me anymore. I'm 30. It doesn't align with what I'm trying to do career-wise in my personal life. So I've just separated myself from everything. But I'm still in contact with people. I still give a lot of hope to people. A lot of people find inspiration through what I do, and I try to keep in contact for that. But I also say this, I've stopped putting people on because every single fucking person I try to put on, it went south. And they ended up back in jail, back in prison, all type of shit.
Well, look, I mean, keeping in contact with people you went to prison with is perfectly fine. And look, you don't know what people do in their spare time, but you kind of have an idea. Like, I've been in cars with people I was friends with at the time who had illegal guns on them. And I think about that now, about how crazy it is. Because if we got pulled over and he just dropped that gun, in the back seat, and we get pulled over and we both say, it's not my gun, I could have gotten charged with that gun.
Well, I'll say this, right? I had a conversation with somebody years ago who was younger than me. I basically told him, you have to value yourself because no one else will. If you want to project that you're this, you're going to be used just for that. And I try to have a conversation as being someone that was a few years older and I've already gone through some shit, and he sees I'm doing good on YouTube and whatever, I'm getting money, I'm not in the streets, I'm not in any illegal shit. And not long after that, he ends up getting picked up for a murder, attempted murders, and now he's doing multiple life sentences. And it just be shit like that, bro. Like, you try to talk to some people, you try to teach them something, but they're going to do what they're going to do. And like I said earlier, when I shouted out my boy that just beat his case, I just talked to him. And he was like, yeah, you know, the biggest thing for me, I got to stay away from certain people. I'm like, well, look, you don't have a fucking circle right now. So if you're wise enough to realize what picking the wrong people does, you have the opportunity now to pick the right circle. You have a daughter you got to do it for. You owe it to her. You owe it to your fucking family and to yourself to stay out of there. Now it's just up to you to make the right choice. And I hope that he does, genuinely. But it's, I don't know, bro. People be stuck in that shit.
You have to really put yourself around people and situations that are going to legitimately inspire you. Like, Mondo was on my show yesterday, and we had a conversation about this. Like, he said something interesting. He said that I never cared about living until I found something to live for. Like, when he got out and he started to pop as a rapper and got to travel around and be in nice cars and go to nice hotels, he was like, oh, this is a whole new world for me. I didn't realize this. Now I really want to live. I don't want to crash out. I don't want to ever go back to prison. You know, and like, what I said was, to all the young people that are listening to this, if you're a teenager, well, not if you're a teenager, if you're like a young adult in your 20s and you haven't really had much and you haven't really had a lot of exposure to some of the better things in life, go get some nice clothes, get your girl, dress her up, and go to the richest area in your city and go to some open houses. Walk around some of these homes, these multi-million-dollar homes. Take a look at what it's like. Think about how much nicer it would be to live in a house like this than where you live. Go to a Rolls Royce or even a Mercedes dealership and go take a test drive, right? You know, Rolls Royce may not always give you a test drive, but like Mercedes and BMW will. You know, if you seem legitimate, if you're dressed nicely and you act, you know, accordingly. Go drive some of these nicer cars and like, okay, look, actually touch it and feel it. And realize that this is all attainable.
Right.
That this is not just, you know, Instagram photos. Like, these are actual items that if you work hard and find something you're good at, you could actually buy them. When I was in high school, my parents didn't have a lot of money. We were lower middle class, you know, lived in a small house. But I had friends whose parents were millionaires. So I would go to their mansions. I would swim in their pools. I'd be like, wow, I want this in the future one day. I would always think about this. Now I have a mansion. And I think it was because of that time and getting to really feel and see what it's like that gave me real hope that I could do it myself. If you don't have hope, you're not going to care about the next day. You're just going to, whatever, crash out, get high, scam, rob, you know, make short-term decisions and so forth. But once you have hope and you know that a lot of this stuff is achievable, and when you look at the Forbes list, a lot of people, they're first generation. You know, Elon Musk, richest man in the world. I just interviewed his father. His father did okay, but Elon's the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff Bezos, who owns, you know, who started Amazon, grew up with a single mom and a Cuban stepdad, and you know, built the whole thing from scratch. Like, a lot of these people, it could be done in one generation. So, but if you surround yourself with people that are scamming, robbing, shooting, you're gonna get caught up in that in some way or another.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I remember when I was 20, I was at Appalachia CI, and I was talking to somebody. His whole back tattoo was basically an armored truck robbery. And he had the whole scene tatted on his back. And he more or less said the biggest hit that he ever hit for was 100,000. And we're all sitting there like, 100,000? Like, that's some big fucking, you know what I mean? Like, damn, he had 100K. And then when I made my first 100K off of YouTube, I was like, this really, like, yeah, it's an achievement, but this ain't shit out here. Like, that really ain't nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then when I went and got this is what he got tatted on his back. This is the value of what he's all that time. You know what I mean? And it's like just reality hit. Like, bro, there's so much more to obtain and so much. But when you just around the young wild motherfuckers, like, bro, none of that shit's really making you money. You're just getting by with it. You're not making, like, I don't really know any career robbers that are just killing it right now. And all they're doing is sticking people up. Like, I've never met them. So it's like, it's really just like the crash dummies.
I mean, look, the guys who killed Pop Smoke and got his jewelry, you split it up however many ways.
They got like $300.
Yeah, it's like they probably blew it in a day or two.
Yeah, bum shit.
The guy who killed PNB Rock during the robbery, and he got some of his jewelry. If he got to spend it, it's probably all gone.
Yeah.
And then you're facing life in prison on top of it.
Yeah, crash.
So
gonna eat ramen noodles for fucking ever.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know any robbers that really ride off into the sunset. You got to be like Ocean's 11 and rob a casino and get away with $1 billion in straight cash and go and get plastic surgery and live in Bolivia somewhere and so forth. Like, I don't know people like this. I know people that have robbed, people for their chain or whatever else and then gone to jail for it and have nothing to show. And yeah, man, like I said, there's no one in my life that I know of that's actually breaking the law after they leave me. They all go to their regular job or their own company or whatever else. I don't have anyone around me that's doing crazy shit anymore. And I think it's kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because it's going to rub off on you one day. You're going to say it doesn't. Well, I don't know what they do. That's nothing to do with me. I mean, yeah, I think Young Thug was pushing his weight around to a certain degree, but I also, based on these YSL interviews, they're basically letting anyone put YSL in their name and saying, okay, fine, that's making us look bigger, whatever. I think Young Thug legitimately didn't know a lot of these guys that were in that RICO case with him, but yet they have YSL in their name. He's the leader of YSL, and it's all coming back to him.
Right. And
things could have went very, very badly for him. He could have gotten 30 years, easy. Yeah, Yak Gotti got off, but Yak Gotti was not Young Thug. He was not the focus of the investigation. Young Thug could have gone to the end, and the jury could have said guilty.
And in the fucking Durk case, are they seeking death? Have they established that yet?
I don't know. I don't think we're there yet.
Because that's fucking major.
I don't think Whack 100 said that based on what he knows, the feds don't usually seek the death penalty unless it's a mass killing.
Mm.
One person getting killed, as horrific as it is still just one person.
Right.
The death penalty is for people like Timothy McVeigh, who blows up a federal building and kills like hundreds of people, including kids and women and stuff like that. I think Dylan Roof is facing the death penalty, walking into a church and opening fire and then just killing everyone in the church.
Yeah.
That's some death penalty stuff. Going after one person that you hate and getting him killed, one person, I don't think he'll get the death penalty, especially with a great lawyer like Drew Finley. Right. I think that they'll take that off the table fairly early. But, you never know.
Yeah, because state-wise, I mean, the Foolio 5, they definitely fit the criteria to get executed under Florida law. So it's like you drive from Jacksonville to Tampa to track somebody and kill them. Yeah, you can get put down for that.
Well, let's talk about that. So they just arrested the final suspect in Foolio's murder.
Right.
He was on the run for 6 months. And there's a photo that we'll show right now. He's actually like smiling.
Yeah.
After they cuff him up. I guess, I don't know. He wants to act tough in his last moments of freedom.
Yeah, that's his final hoorah before it's honey buns and noodles for fucking ever. That's his final. He's a dumb motherfucker because he was going on one of those like little chat things online, talking shit, saying I'm gonna pull up, I'm gonna do this, And the whole time he was in Jacksonville. Like he never left. He was in Jacksonville. So it's like, I would have thought you would have went to like out the country or something, like away. But nah, he stayed in Jacksonville. And they got him, and, you know, he was on the chat thing talking about, oh, I'm right over here right now. Pull up. I'll do this. I'll do that. I don't know, bro. He seems like one of them dumb motherfuckers that just, like, need to be where they're going.
Right. You're talking about 27-year-old Davion Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the final suspect in the murder. How many total people are there?
5. The Foolio 5.
The Foolio 5. The fact that someone would call 4 other people to kill a high-profile person like Foolio and think that they're going to get away with it.
And then y'all got a pregnant bitch. Like, yeah, that was a fucking great idea. Bring her
'Cause
along.
She's completely cooperating from what I understand.
No, that's what I assumed would happen. Like, that's usually what's going to happen.
Right. She's going to have her baby in jail.
Mm-hmm.
That baby will be taken away from her, and she'll have to serve the rest of her time. And she's going to do her very best to snitch as hard as possible to minimize her time in that jail so she can get with her newborn baby, which
and
might not be
I'm going to be honest, too. Like, she's most likely still going to get time. They're going to send her to Lil CI. And Lil CI is a fucked up spot. Like, you got bitches getting bucked in there. So it's like, you're like a famous rat. You know what I mean? But they more so be going after the girls that be killing their own kids and, like, crazy shit like that. But Lil CI, the Florida Department of Corrections doesn't fuck off. It's very much like it's war. You know what I mean? You got COs killing people, inmates killing people. So what they have to look forward to isn't anything nice. And then obviously if any of them get death, that's a whole nother different story.
I mean, yeah. What the prosecutors will say is that this group of people had 3 hours to change their mind. They drove for 3 hours to get Foolio, and at any point, one or all of them could have said, you know, something, this is a bad idea. Just, you know, pull over, let me out.
Right.
I'm not going along with this. And if y'all want to do it, that's cool. You know, like, what was it? Boys in the Hood. You know, where he was like, you know, he told Ice Cube to let him out the car, and, you know, Cuba Gooding Jr. jumped out and said, "No, I'm not built for this."
Right.
And that person would be free right now.
Yeah, and then Davion's dumbass texted his thirst has been quenched. And let's go pop a bottle of Don Julio when we get back to Jacksonville. So it's like, I don't know, bro. If you're looking at candidates to fry, like, that would be the fucking one, right? Like, if you wanted to, okay, we have a death penalty. Who deserves it? Like that. I don't know. I would think it would be them.
The fact that he stayed in Jacksonville is insane. Because I remember I interviewed Chi Ali. He was, you know, he was a rapper in the, you know, early 90s. He was a kid rapper. And he got into it with his baby mother's brother. And it was over some money he owed or whatever. They got into an argument. The dude told him to suck his dick. He pulled out a gun and killed him.
Yeah, he killed him. I seen that.
Yeah. And then, you know, but he was like, okay, I just caught a body. I got to get the hell up out of here. So he went down south, grew his beard out, grew his hair out, you know, try to make himself look as, you know, inconspicuous as possible, or just different from how he usually looked. And he would essentially just rob drug dealers for money to just maintain himself. You know, he would go set up a drug deal, rob the dude, take his money, go move somewhere else, lay low, you know, wouldn't leave the house very often because he was like, look, if I get pulled over for a traffic violation, I'm going to jail forever. So I'm going to take this as, you know, as seriously as possible. And ultimately, he kept going back to New York and then he got caught doing that. But, you know, he was on America's Most Wanted and everything else like that. But the one thing he didn't do was stay in his damn neighborhood and wait for the cops to arrest him, like this guy.
Yeah, dumb as fuck.
Yeah, I simply don't get it, man. Well, YNW Melly has been in jail for 6 years?
Been a long time.
Now, didn't the lawyer basically tell the prosecution they have to come up with a good reason to keep him in jail or else he's going to let him out?
I think they already established that they're not letting him out, but they're going to look into his civil rights being violated while he's been in there.
Yeah. Now, your name got brought up in Melly's case, and I guess interviews that you did with me were referenced in it.
Yeah, an interview I did with you and an interview I did with Adam both got included. Bro, my name's been brought up so many times in that fucking case, it's annoying.
What exactly did you say on Vlad TV that has something to do with YNW Melly's double murder case?
Nothing. Nothing.
You didn't say you were in the car and he handed Melly the gun?
No,
Like
I
Keffe D?
didn't say that. Hey, Portland, you should take the bodies to the hospital. I didn't like fucking.
No, you didn't get rid of the bodies. You didn't give the gun to Melly.
The shit, bro. They're literally the video that they have is of me and you talking about my affiliation and experience in prison, and how being a white blood in prison isn't ideal, and they're basically trying to use it to where, okay, Jake is saying that he's a member of this. And then on the No Jumper interview, Jake called out the Island Boys and said they weren't real bloods. So if Jake is a real blood, and he said the Island Boys aren't real bloods, and Jake didn't say Melly wasn't a real blood, then Melly must be a real blood. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because if I come out, I've said it before, I don't know him. Nobody I know knows him. At all. But they're saying in the paperwork that me and him are the same fucking thing. I don't know him. No one I know knows him. But if I make a video saying, oh, Melly's a fake blood, and then he gets popped in jail, yeah, that doesn't make me look fucking good. You know what I'm saying? Same shit that just happened with Watt 100. He drops the Ya Gotti shit, Ya Gotti gets stabbed. Now imagine if that was me that did that.
Yeah.
Should look fucking crazy, right? Yeah, I don't want nothing to do with that shit, bro. I don't know him. I don't got nothing to do with him. Fucking, they're trying to tie me in or whatever, and they're trying to say because I didn't expose him, that must validate him in some form or way of... It's fucking stupid, bro.
Well, to the Florida DAs that are watching these interviews, I have never met YNW Melly. I do know some people that know him, like 100K Track, who he was signed to as management and so forth, but I have no idea about anything. You know, I barely even go to Florida. So if you guys want to use our interviews to somehow convict this guy, you just grasping strings at this point. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't have any inside information. You don't have any inside information. This is just, you know, almost ridiculous. Now, Melly actually had a hung jury in his first trial, so they're retrying him. Do you think that there's a chance that he can actually beat the case?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how y'all didn't get it right the first time if y'all are so overly fucking confident. But, there's just a lot of stupid shit. Like, what makes me confident that he can beat it is the simple fact that I'm even in the fucking case. Because it doesn't add any type of value.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we never talked about no crazy shit. We never fucking... So it's like, the fact that the gang detective, the one that was wearing the mask, oh, I have inside information that 1090 Jake is the treasurer of the G-Shine Blood. What the fuck is a treasurer? Like, I don't even understand where they're coming up with. And then, like, all right, keep it real. I'm not good at math. You think I'm gonna be in charge of the funds of a fucking gang? And then, oh, I heard through a confidential informant that 1090 Jake is funding the Bloods with his YouTube channel.
What?
I'm the only one that got a fucking chain? Because nobody I'm around look like me, so I don't understand. I'm the only one but I'm funding a fucking gang? Like, this shit just be sounding crazy, and then that's why I looked into him and found out who he was. And, you know, took the fucking mask off. So, I don't know if it's like a personal vendetta, because Raven Liberty, Melly's lawyer, said that the gang detective is, like, obsessed with me, with Melly, with hip-hop in general. Like, he's just some weird Cuban dude. But I don't know, bro. They put in a motion to basically get the videos taken out. And it wasn't just those two videos. There was a list of different things. It was just obviously those two have my name, and that's, that's why we're talking about it. But there's multiple videos from the internet. They're trying to get them removed, and I guess the state is going to respond to why they feel it adds substance to the case.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. The fact that a VladTV interview is being used in a YNW Melly case with someone that's never actually met YNW Melly.
It's stupid. And I mean, if there was ever an
dumb.
issue, I would know because, me and Track, we've done an interview before. We've communicated multiple times. So it's like, if there was ever an issue, I would know, And obviously we don't speak on things, but I don't know him to even have anything to say that would be used against him. All I'm doing is reading the fucking paperwork. So it's, I don't know. I think the state is just pulling at whatever they can.
Now, speaking of Florida, isn't there a war going on in Broward County, which is Kodak Black's neighborhood?
There's a lot of shit going on in Broward County.
Right. I guess the war involves some of Kodak's associates. There's 8 people that were killed, including 3 parents, 12 attempted murders, and it actually resulted in a RICO. And I guess 9 members of the Dania Hot Boys / Grand Mafia were arrested for a bunch of murders from 2021. Rappers HMT Trey and Liberia Sig were arrested. Kodak Black's friend Psycho Bob had beef with HMT Trey and Liberia Sig, and HMT Trey's mom was killed. So it's just, not to say Psycho Bob had anything to do with it, but it's just a mess that's going on in there.
Yeah, well, Broward, like, Kodak is from Pompano. Broward is the entire county. And so within that county, you got Dania, you got Fort Lauderdale, there's multiple areas. But yeah, there's been a whole lot of beef, and HMT Trey's mom, Misty, got killed. And there was some diss songs that got dropped, and then another associate of theirs, father, got killed. Liberia Sig's mom allegedly got fucked by Psycho Bob, and he made a whole song about it. And then while Psycho Bob was in federal prison, his mom got killed. So there's a whole lot of crazy shit going on. But yeah, they got swept up in that RICO. Kodak himself isn't directly involved other than just knowing people that are. But Liberia Sig and them have made diss songs against Kodak. I really just feel like Kodak's the biggest artist, so motherfuckers is just hating on him. You know what I mean? That's just how that shit goes, but he's not directly involved in any of that shit.
Right. There's another guy named Hatch, which is one of the 8 men that were indicted. Allegedly, he vowed to get revenge after his 53-year-old father got killed. And then 3 months later, this guy named Wiz the Wizard was found dead. And Wiz had a falling out with Kodak Black and had some back and forth with Psycho Bob. So it's just a mess right now.
Yeah, Wiz got killed. They had a whole rumor that his head got cut off. He got dumped in front of a house that I guess he used to live at. And then another person got killed and got found in a burning car. And they were trying to say that that was the killer of Wiz, and it's crazy shit.
Yeah, man, I hope things calm down over there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that RICO hit, so it's like, who the fuck's left? Psycho Bob's doing his bid. He's gonna come home. Kodak's still out here fucking hanging out, living life. And the rest of them, Broward County Jail.
I did an interview with Ali Zoe Adam, who was one of the founders of the Zoe Pound. And he talked about how essentially everyone got wiped out. Like everyone went to jail during his era and everyone got arrested and all these people testified against him and so forth. And it's like, once the feds come in and start putting down RICOs, you just see everyone start to turn against each other and entire areas just get wiped out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Lil Z Osama, you did a video about him.
Right.
And he got 14 months after leaving a Glock switch in an Uber in New York.
Yeah.
He pled guilty to 1 count of possession of a machine gun, and he got his 14 months. Now, people felt that he cooperated because the time he got was so short. But you said that's actually not that uncommon.
Nah, I mean, bro, he had a fire-ass lawyer. His lawyer, she's up there. I mean, bro, just look at the YoungBoy case. Like, I think what people are starting to realize is it's not just white people that beat cases. It's money that beat cases. Because a lot of people will be like, oh, he's white, that's why he got up. Nah, he just had money. His family has money. And then now you see these rappers, instead of buying big dumbass chains and watches, when you get a real lawyer, you get real results. He didn't cooperate. There was nobody to cooperate against. Left a gun in the car. The gun had a switch on it. She got him 14 months. That's it. You know what I mean? There's nothing else. There's no other people he was with. There's no fucking pointing the finger. There's no cooperation. So, you know, I think he reached out to me, tagged me in his story, asking me to cover his case. I'll look into it. Fuck it. I've had a couple people ask me to cover their shit, and some of them it didn't go well. But his shit, yeah, nah, he ain't cooperate on nobody, bro. He got a fucking great deal from a great lawyer, and that's how it played out.
Yeah, you said something funny in that video. You said, if you ain't rich, don't tote a switch.
Yeah. Because you ain't going to beat that motherfucker. If that's, you know, if you want to tote switches, you got to have the riches. Because you got to get that fucking lawyer.
I just don't understand for the life of me. And I've interviewed Lil Z Osama before. You know, it seemed cool when I interviewed him. But why on earth would you bring a switch into New York City?
He from Chicago, bro. Them motherfuckers, they don't care.
I understand. Okay, you got your switch in Chicago. Okay, you use it there or so forth. But you either had to bring it over on an airplane or in your car, or you had to get it while you're here. Like, I never hear of anyone getting shot in Manhattan and actually getting away with it. I've never heard of this. Not in the last 20 years.
Right.
Every single crime involving a gun in the city of Manhattan, which is where I am right now, with cameras everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Every corner, every building. They probably got some drones that they're not telling us about. Everywhere. No one gets away with shooting in Manhattan. That guy Luigi that shot the CEO, you know, the healthcare CEO, okay, he got away for a couple of days, but they got him.
Yeah, so there was even a shooting, I remember, with an NYC drill rapper, and he popped somebody in Times Square and got picked up for that. So it's like, I don't know how much time passed when he did it, whatever. I think he was masked up, but in New York, anything you do is going to be caught on camera. You got a better chance of getting away with some shit inside of Rikers Island than you do in the streets of New York.
Yeah, the rapper's name is Nas EBK. So this was around March of 2023. Accused of getting into an argument with the victim, a 22-year-old named Idrissa Sibi, on February 9th on 44th Street and 8th Avenue, which is Times Square.
Yeah, like you're right there where everybody's taking the pictures and shit. Shot him.
Yeah, he got shot. He tried to run. He collapsed in front of a Chick-fil-A. They tried to, resuscitate him. No luck. And, and I guess like one of the witnesses said that they heard, Nazi became saying, walk toward me again and I'll violate you. Then I guess he kicked the guy and ran off after shooting him.
Yep, crazy. That's New York, though. But back to the Z Osama situation, what's wild about it, like kind of funny, is even though we had a switch, which is illegal in the entire country, he was kind enough to obey New York's laws on high-capacity magazines. So he didn't have a switch in a 30, which makes sense because the whole thing goes off in like 2 seconds. He had a switch in like 10 bullets, which literally would have just went and it's empty. So you basically got like a one-shot gun because the second you squeeze that, all 10 shots come right out. So, yeah, that was the case. 14 months, no snitching. He'll be out soon.
Have you ever actually fired a fully automatic weapon? Because I have.
Nah.
Okay. I remember, and there's video of this. Like, I'm not just, talking. Like, I did an interview with this guy named Colin Noir, who's this black, like, pro-gun guy.
Oh yeah, I know.
You
We follow each other on the gram.
Right.
Yeah.
So I interviewed him, and he took me to this area in LA where they do a lot of firearm training for movies, and you could legally fire automatic weapons just on the grounds. So there's videos of me shooting like Uzis and fully automatic weapons. And that was the first time I got to do it. And it's like, oh my God, the type of damage that these things could do is just insane.
They got a gun range in Miami where you can shoot a minigun, the shit they be having in the helicopters. But like we didn't have switches when I was, like young. Like we didn't have that shit. That's more like newer. So nah, I never shot a machine gun.
Well, this one hits close to home with me. Keffe D, who was locked up for Tupac's murder, tried to get the case dismissed. But on January 21st, the Las Vegas judge basically upheld the murder case against him over the 1996 shooting of Tupac. And what's kind of crazy is that Keffe D basically said that he had immunity, that he had a proffer agreement. But, and this is kind of wild right here. Basically, the judge said that there is no proof of immunity in Las Vegas, and there's no federal immunity either. So even though Greg Kading said he gave him a proffer agreement and so forth, I don't know if any actual paperwork were filed around that. So it's essentially being treated as you just confessed to a murder.
Yeah.
Does this surprise you at all?
Nah, I don't think if you are involved in some shit like that, you should be talking about it that much. And I think he was really trying to get as much money out of it as he could. And now he's charged with murder.
Yeah. According to the case, the judge added that Keffe D didn't help his case by revealing additional information on his own admission, which Keffe D benefited from, in terms of doing interviews for money.
Right.
And, I'm one of those people. He interviewed with me, and I paid him for both the interviews that we did. But at the time that I did my first interview, he had a book on Amazon which laid out the entire story. So I don't know, man. If I committed a murder and I got away with it, I would never talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only thing he can say is it's a fucking true story. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, it is what it is. You would have been better off just, like, writing a book about some other shit. But he just caught himself murder charge.
Yeah, I guess at one point he tried to say that he was never even in Las Vegas at the time, but then they went through and found a hotel that, I guess it was registered under his wife's name, which basically connected him with being there. Various people have tried to bail him out, and they're essentially not letting him out. Whack 100 was the first one to try to bail him out. And in my interview with him, like, he volunteered that he's going to bail out Keffe D, and he's going to shoot some content with him when he's out. And they actually played that interview in his bail hearing, and they basically denied it based on, I guess, that and some other things, which kind of doesn't make sense, because if you haven't been convicted of a crime, there's nothing illegal about you talking about it if you're on bail, right?
I mean, they probably advise you not to, but I don't think they want him to have any form of freedom.
Yeah, I don't think Las Vegas is just going to let him out. I think they're like, okay, we finally got him.
Bro, they've had so much pressure on them to, like, solve that shit and fucking put somebody away for it. Now they finally got him. Like, they're not going to let that go.
Yeah. Ultimately what happens is what happens. If he walked away from it, I think that's perfectly fine as well. I never did the interview with, thinking he's going to get arrested for it. I figured, okay, he's got his immunity, he's got his proffer agreement, he wrote a book about it. If he wants to talk about it, he's going to talk about it.
Right.
If it wasn't with me, it was going to be with someone else. He did multiple platforms. He did Art of Dialogue. I think he did Camp Capone. You know, he made his rounds. You know, he got some money, but the money he got didn't even remotely come close to what he's paying in lawyer bills.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
So,
fucked.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, you know, we talked about this before the interview. I just interviewed John Red Shea, who was essentially one of the gangsters that worked for Whitey Bulger in the Winter Hill gang in Boston. And this hits close home to you because you're from Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about the Winter Hill gang, like growing up?
Yeah, I mean, everybody did. They were over in Somerville, but everybody heard about Whitey. I didn't know all, like, the members and all that, you know, because this is way before my time. But anyone from New England, you've heard all about it. You've heard all the stories. And, you know, when I got out of prison, I was in Southie. I was in South Boston. I was in a program over there. And fucking basically it was like for addicts and shit because I couldn't get into a reentry program for inmates because I wasn't convicted in mass. So I ended up going into the Cushion House, which is like an addict program, more or less. And the church that we would have to go to for the meetings, you gotta go in there and be like, ah, yeah, my name's Jake. I smoke crack, whatever. Fucking the church, St. Monica's, is attached to the projects that Whitey grew up in. And it's like, you know, it's like what he was saying, like Southie was really like a white ghetto. You know, you had 3 major projects that were gigantic projects. One's like half torn, D Street projects are like half townhouses now. The other ones got taken down and then Whitey's projects are still up. But it's a very different neighborhood because it's like, now it's changed, but that's where you really found like tough, white, Irish people that were with the shit. And a lot of people around the country have never really heard of that. Like the projects over there, bro, they used to have shamrock spray painted on. It was just different. You go in there and see white people from the projects. And it was just a different neighborhood.
Are you Irish yourself?
Yeah, I'm Irish and Italian.
Okay. So this is close home to you. Yeah, he basically, Red basically said how that area in Southie was sort of like one of the last white ghettos. Mm-hmm. Project, large scale white project ghettos just filled with, Irish people essentially, white Irish people. And I mean, the story is pretty crazy. Like Whitey, I think, was responsible for like killing like 15 people.
No.
And one of which there was like, one of Whitey's people was messing with the daughter of some lady and they're worried about her going to the police. So they say that Whitey strangled her. And then when they eventually found the body, all of her fingers and toes were cut off and her teeth were all pulled out. And when I asked why, Red said, so they couldn't identify the body.
Yeah, so they can't identify.
I mean, it makes perfect sense, but I just never heard of anyone doing this.
Yeah, and then Whitey had a specific area, too, where he used to dump all the bodies at. And fucking, I mean, bro, everybody's heard, like, the stories, and to be honest, like, even though he ended up being a rat and then fucking getting murdered, like, now people talk shit about him, but when he was there, like, running around Southie, I highly doubt anybody was saying anything against him. Like, from what I always heard, he ran that shit. So.
Yeah, no, he was the boss of the Irish mob in Boston.
People were afraid of him. But then again, like, this is just what I've heard. I have no experience in this whatsoever. This is way before my time. But, yeah.
No, I mean, we went into detail on this. So, essentially, Whitey had an FBI handler that would just look out for him all the time. So whenever he was about to get arrested, his handler would be like, hey, get up out of here. Even when the whole indictment came with the Winter Hill gang, Whitey was not one of the people that was arrested. Mm-hmm. And I guess what Whitey would do was he would work with this FBI agent and snitch on all his enemies. And I guess it was primarily Italian mafia guys.
Yeah, in the North End. That's like Boston's Little Italy.
Right.
So
he was basically at war with the Italians, and he would work with the FBI agent and told on the Italians and got them all arrested, and he would wipe them out legally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Whitey was always prepared to move at the drop of a dime. Like, he had no wife. I think he had a kid. Like John said, there was a kid that he had that was like secretive, and I guess the kid died at one point, but he didn't really have a bunch of attachments. So at the point that he was told that he was getting indicted, he had money stashed all over the world. You know, like he just basically grabbed one of his girlfriends, went cross country, went to Santa Monica, had like 800,000 in the walls of his apartment, and was basically for like 30 years was living low key until he got caught. And yeah, as soon as he was put, I guess it was like a transfer that was happening, and they didn't really think about who he was around.
Yeah, I think they took him. I think they took him from Coleman in Florida, and they fucked up and they sent him general population, and what was it, in Virginia or whatever. And then one of the guys from the Springfield mob from Western Mass, they beat him to death. They, hit him with locks and socks. They cut his tongue out. They gouged his eyes out. They fucked him up decent.
Yeah, I guess when they found him, they couldn't even figure out who he was for a while because he was so mangled.
Yeah.
That they couldn't even figure out who the hell this person was until they finally was like, oh shit, this is Whitey Bulger. And he was like, what, like 85 at the time?
He was old as shit, bro, because you got to understand, like, Whitey was in Alcatraz when Alcatraz was a fucking prison. Like, that's some old throwback shit. Whitey was a part of when the government was giving people LSD and testing what it did to them. And, like, he went through a whole lot of shit. I don't personally know much about him. I don't know Red either, but I just seen him with my boy Bean Shooter, who's another guy blowing up out of Boston. He's really from Lowell. And, everybody from Boston, Mass, everybody seems to know each other, connect in one way or another. But, I mean, shit, you should try to get the interview with Whitey's ex-wife.
Oh. Well, it was his girlfriend, not his wife.
Was it the girlfriend they never married?
No, I think they never married.
Yeah, that'd be a good one because she's back
that
in.
would be incredible.
She's back in Mass. I think she's on the South Shore. So.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta find her.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a hell of an interview.
That'd be a banger. You gotta start bringing some more Boston dudes on. I told you about Johnny. Johnny's another one right there. Hell's Angel did crazy time in the Fed. So there's a lot of good shit coming out of Mass.
Well, I mean, I just got John Red Shea on the show. This is, that's my start in the whole, Boston mob scene. And I'll slowly work my way through the system. And it's funny how they all kind of know each other. Like, Red was talking about Joey Merlino. I guess he had just done his podcast. And it was like, oh, yeah, I did Joey Merlino's first ever interview.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, he had like a channel and I think like a Patreon or something. But once we did that interview, that shit just blew up.
Right.
And now he's like a certified, YouTuber.
Yeah, because Red's from Southie, and then I don't know exactly where Johnny's from. Bean Shooter's from Lowell. Mickey Ward's from Lowell. So it's just all different parts of Massachusetts, but everybody's just going to say Boston because that's the main city everybody knows.
Well, I had Eskino on my show recently, and Eskino had done a bunch of jail time. And I played him this clip from Rico Reckless, who's about to be back on my show as well. And he was talking about how in jail, if your bunkmate leaves a honey bun on your bed, don't ever take that honey bun.
Yeah.
And I remember like when I brought this up to Eskino, he goes, oh yeah, we actually, in one of the jails he was in, they actually showed like a video when they first got in.
They do that when you go to prison in Florida, bro. When you go to reception, they make you watch a fucking video of a guy getting a honey bun put on his bunk. And, to sum it up, it basically means somebody wants to fuck you. And if you take that honey bun, you basically, that's what it is.
Right, because I remember I was talking to Mondo about this. He goes, he wasn't familiar with the honey bun, but he's seen it done with like Snickers bars, where it's like, You get put in a cell, you know, your cellmate's in there, and they're like, hey man, you hungry? You want a Snickers? Yeah, sure. All right, here you go. You know, they give them a Snickers, and they'll be like, hey man, I want that Snickers back. And it's like, all right, well, let me go to the commissary and get you one. No, I want the Snickers I gave you back. Well, I ain't got nothing. I can't give it back to you. Oh, you got something. You got something.
They try to basically put you in debt and finesse you out your ass. So the best way to go about that is stabbing them repeatedly in front of everybody. Yeah. That's how you handle that.
Have you ever actually seen this though? This whole like giving an inmate something and then...
Nah, I mean, I seen some gay ass shit, yeah, like in adult prison, yeah, but I never seen like the whole honey bun thing. You'll see a little white boy come in and sit down, and an old black dude, oh, where you from? Da 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 da. Try to be friendly and, you know, talk to him and just walking the chow with him, and then the next thing you know, the white boy is fucking doing his eyebrows, his pants are 3 times tighter, and you just know what time it is.
Esquino said something interesting. He said, in prison, being a rat is worse than getting raped in terms of the way people treat you.
I don't know, because like in Florida, bro, you really don't know, because they don't do all the checking paperwork shit. So you don't really know who's a rat, but you know who's a punk. Like, you could tell who's getting fucked, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't even want to be around that shit. And so, I don't know.
What's interesting, like I had Mano on my show yesterday, and he did like 10 years in prison, and he was in like 10 different prisons. He just kept, you know, getting into fights, stabbings, whatever, moved to this prison, moved to that prison, moved to that prison. And he was like, listen, I've always heard about the gay shit, but like none of the prisons that he was in, and this was all in New York, you know, because he got arrested in Brooklyn for kidnapping. He said none of the prisons he was in, he saw any rapes or anything else like that. He said, yeah, there was a group of gay dudes that would kind of, you know, rock with each other, but he never saw dudes getting raped or, you know, people getting churned out and stuff like that. You know, so he was like, he feels from his point of view, a lot of that stuff is like over exaggerated.
Yeah, come down south. The shit's different in the south, I guess. It's fucking, I don't know.
Yeah, just stay out of prison in general.
Yeah, like, bro, there's every state has prison legends. The state of Florida had Mama Herc, which was this big black dude with crazy muscles. There's pictures of him you can look up. It's Mama Herc. Bro, the stories about this dude, like he would just grab you by the throat and pin you against the wall. And I'm not even gonna say the rest, but like, dude was just taking it. And nobody could fuck with him. And then eventually he ended up getting killed, supposedly on the yard. Some little Puerto Rican kid or whatever. The story was he fucked the Puerto Rican dude. Then when he was benching on the yard, the Puerto Rican dude there's 2 stories. One is he stabbed him in the chest. The other one is he hit him with a plate in the head. And that's how Mama Herc died. But there's like real deal legendary booty bandits in certain prisons where their stories have been passed on for years and years and years.
Yeah, we did a search for it real quick. This YouTube video named Booty Bandit, Mama Herc, Florida prison legend. And yeah, it's a big old dude with big muscles.
Yeah.
And yeah, someone you don't want to run into in the wrong situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should be
Mama
crazy,
Herc.
man.
Well, you did a video about a Houston rapper named Guero 10K. You called him Houston's top crasher.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about him.
Guero 10K, from my understanding, grew up in the suburbs, wanted a gangbang, and fucking, I mean, he was bout it. This kid's got multiple videos beating shit up online. Then they started, you know, shooting guns. And I forget, I think he got like 5 murders. So he was beefing with another rapper named Cash Out Ace. He pulled up to the music video shoot, shot Ace in the head, knocked a chunk out of his shit. He had to get his skull removed and then a plate put in his head So there's a picture of Cash Out Ace missing a whole chunk of his head. Killed the video camera kid. I think they killed another random person. Another time they tried to catch Cash Out Ace, they thought they were following him to his house. They shoot up the car. They ended up killing an elderly couple that was like in their 60s. They thought it was Ace's grandparents, so they were celebrating the shit, whatever. Turned out to just be a random couple. But yeah, they were just wilding out, killing shit. Another murder, a different gang was sliding in their neighborhood. Guero allegedly fired. They crashed the car. Guero gets out. He shot the driver and the kid in the back. The driver runs away. The kid in the back that was stuck in the back seat, Guero allegedly ran up, finished him. Yeah, he was with the shit. Now he's got multiple life sentences. He's gone. And he took a plea deal for it. He signed off on life.
Yeah, he went on a killing spree in 2019 where he killed 5 people in 4 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he ain't fucking off.
Yeah, and like you said, there were 2 grandparents that got gunned down in front of their home.
Bro, he's got a video. He's got a video in prison, basically on FaceTime, telling somebody that they're not about that shit, and whatever. Like, yeah, when you get on that, you're gonna be in here with me. You're gonna be in here with me. And he's just a fucking nut.
And like you said in the beginning, he grew up middle class.
Yeah, in Texas. And you gotta understand, bro, even like all the houses in Texas are big. So you don't even need that much money to get a big ass crib in Texas. So if you got a little bit of money, you're gonna be in some mega shit. So it was like he wasn't in no bad neighborhood. He was in a 2-story house. Like, he was decent. And even his whole family, like, you know, I ended up finding the family's pictures, and none of them looked, aside from his father and his mother, none of them looked like they fit the lifestyle. But his father, he lived with his father, and I guess they had switches in the house, guns in the house, drugs in the house, whatever. And yeah, that's the route he took.
Well, what's crazy is that this whole killing spree was over a rap beef. And, you know, like you said, the Houston rapper he was beefing with was a guy named Cash Out Ace.
Yeah, Ace dropped a song talking about he was fucking on Lily, and Lily was Guero's girlfriend at the time.
Okay, so what?
Well, apparently Guero went and hit him in the head with a rifle.
Right.
So a lot of these things start with a girl. Young boy and fucking Vaughn, girl. That's how it goes.
I think it's always over a girl. I almost feel it's over a girl 100% of the time. But people just won't admit it because you look stupid crashing out over a girl that's probably not even your main girlfriend. Just some girl you messing with on the side.
Right.
No one wants to say, so I'm doing life in prison for killing this guy because he was talking about fucking my side chick.
And now she's out there still getting fucked and you're in prison.
Right. I mean, look at the whole Lil Durk, you know, NBA YoungBoy beef. The whole beef seems to revolve around that girl, Jania, who was YoungBoy's baby mother.
Right.
And she was in the studio, you know, with King Von at one point. There's like a little video circulating, and they're saying that's kind of the reason for the beef. So now you got King Von dead, Lil Pab is dead, Quando Rondo is currently in federal prison, Lil Durk is now in federal prison, well, awaiting a potential life sentence. Jania went and got with some basketball player and got pregnant again.
Yeah, with a basketball player.
Doing Fashion Nova ads. In
Shit's
fact,
crazy.
What was crazy was, I remember this so clearly. When Lil Durk got arrested and he was all over the news, suddenly you saw all these Fashion Nova ads with Jania. That was not by accident. Fashion Nova knows what they're doing. They're like, oh, here's an opportunity for us to cash out on this. She's got a whole new baby. She got her body done, got a whole new man. They're flying private. She's not doing interviews. She's moved on with her life. And now you got all these people dead and in jail. I'm not going to say it's over her because it isn't, but she's kind of at the heart of the problem. And it's not like this girl is some super dime. It's not like it's Beyonce and the whole world wants her. She's like a regular chick.
Yeah, and then don't forget the herpes rumors. So, because that was with her and YoungBoy, and I don't know if there's truth to it. I know YoungBoy's mom ended up saying something like, yeah, it's true, but I don't know, bro. It's not fucking worth it.
The whole thing is retarded, man. The whole thing is retarded. And now, like I mentioned, Quando Rondo, he accepted a plea deal, and now he's doing, I think, 33 months?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and look, I did a whole interview with him about this whole situation when I was in Savannah. And this was, before he started his time, but I think he had already accepted his plea deal, and he was just waiting for sentencing at the time. And 33 months, I mean, it's not light, but it's a little less than 3 years.
Yeah, he's going to end up doing like 2 and some change because feds is 85%.
Right. He's going to do about 2.5. He's still young. I think he'll come out. He'll still have a fan base. I think people will embrace him. And, but from what it seems like, though, and we went over the case and, everything else like that, he ultimately was, he pled guilty to a drug conspiracy and participating in a criminal street gang activity. The drug conspiracy, I think, is bullshit. I do not see Quando Rondo involved in selling drugs at this point in his life.
It's like you said, your circle is everything, and his circle brought him down. That's really all it comes down to.
That's exactly what I saw.
They try to paint him as the leader of the rolling 60s, and because he's a 60 in their 60s, he's responsible for their doings, and it fucked them up.
Quando's at the point. He has so many big songs. Like, he's not doing a lot of shows because of, everything that happened, but he has a whole album with NBA YoungBoy. He's got songs with like 40 million streams. Like, he has a real income. He has a real fan base. I saw the way people were treating him walking around Savannah. Like, everyone's taking photos with him. He's like essentially the biggest rapper out of there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got talent, bro, and not for nothing. I've spoke to him on the phone, and he's a cool dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's really cool people, and it's unfortunate how everything played out, but sometimes things are a blessing in disguise too. Like, yeah, the feds charged him and sat him down, but who's to say that didn't prevent him from getting killed in a different situation? Because apparently people were actively trying to hunt him across the states. So it is what it is. Hopefully he's able to bounce back. And, what I think is weird is, interesting, I don't see Durk's case. I don't know. Maybe it'll last 3 years, but there's a chance that Durk and Quando are inside of the feds at the same time. And if things don't go well for Durk and he's sentenced to forever, it's usually people that have time like that are the ones that make moves also in the, all that shit just doesn't stop when you go to the feds. So I don't know if the feds is actually going to be a place where Quando could still run into potential problems, because people do get killed in federal prison.
If I were to guess, I feel that Durk is sitting in his jail cell right now saying, it wasn't that serious. I think I overreacted. I actually had a good life a couple months ago. I was flying private everywhere. I had all my kids, access to all of them. I got a girl who I loved. I live in a big mansion. I'm doing shows in arenas in Chicago. Kanye's doing songs with me. Everyone loves me. And now I'm sitting eating bologna sandwiches over something that really could have been completely avoided.
Right. And then I think Durk's dad just linked up with FBG Duck's dad
I saw that. That was dope.
to push peace.
That was dope. But the one thing I didn't like, and I've talked about this before, is that I guess someone had interviewed Durk's dad, and he said, well, I just find it ironic that my son gets arrested after he does a concert pushing peace and, putting up the pictures of all the people that he didn't get along with, like FBG Duck and so forth. And, he's getting more into his faith and so forth. And I'm like, man, you can't peace concert your way out of a murder for hire.
Right.
I know that's your son and you care about him. And I understand you're going to say whatever positive things you could say. And I think him linking up with Duck's dad, I think is dope, because I didn't even know Duck's dad was still out there like that. I only knew about his mom. I think that's great. But it just annoys me when people don't take responsibility for their actions or the actions of people around them and try to always say it's a conspiracy, right? Oh, the feds saw my son doing all this positive stuff, so they arrested him for murder. If he had just been doing more negative stuff, he could have been let free and nobody would have bothered him. Like, really? Is that what you really think?
Yeah.
In the same way that Durk hates rats because someone snitched on his dad and his dad went to prison throughout his whole childhood. But when you look it up, his dad was arrested for having a drug operation. They found $8 million in cash. So you're not mad at your dad for selling drugs. You're mad at the guy that snitched on him. If there was nothing to snitch on, your dad wouldn't go to prison.
Right.
I personally don't have any fear of snitches because I don't do anything.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that also don't have any accountability, so it's just one of them. It's easier to blame other things than accepting things for what they are.
Yeah. What I would have liked to hear is like, something? My dad sold drugs and chose to live an illegal lifestyle, which almost always ends up in long prison sentences. I wish he hadn't have done that. And if he hadn't done that, I would have had my dad around. My life would have been different. And yes, someone snitched on him, but people always snitch in the drug game. So I shouldn't be surprised about that. I may not like the snitch, but if there's nothing to snitch on, nothing would have happened. You're mad at the snitch and not the person who's doing the crime.
Right.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I feel you're living life with blinders on and you're not really putting responsibilities where the responsibility has to go. And ultimately, that's what being a man is taking real responsibility. Okay, this happened because of these actions that I took or this person around me took. And that's what caused them to get into that situation. Like, all the arrests that you went through, did you ever, right now, when you're 30 years old, do you feel like you were the victim and because some people told on you, that's why all those bad things happened to you? Or it's because you chose to do certain crimes and you went to prison for it?
If you want me to be honest, I used to dream about killing my co-defendant. Yeah, when I first got locked up, I used to dream about it. I think I talked about it in the video. I was like, yeah, I wanted to kill him, his mom, the dog, the fish, everybody, because I was just blaming him. But by the time I was going home, I accepted responsibility and was like, you know what? I gave him something to snitch on. If I never did the shit with him, it would have never happened. And then not even a couple months ago, I fucking seen him.
Oh.
I sat down at a restaurant. I'm with my girl and I look 2 tables behind her and I see him with his family. And he didn't even realize, I'm the one that peeped game first. And I don't know, I felt all type of ways in a very short matter of time. Because I didn't want him to say something to me, like even if it was just like a hey, because it's like at the end of the day, you did fucking rat. But at the same time, like, what the fuck am I really supposed to do? I was kind of surprised because I kind of wanted to fucking confront him. But I didn't. We just ended up getting out and going to a different restaurant. And I was just like, this shit ain't even worth it. And I thought I was over it until I seen him. And then it kind of brought back all that shit. But I was still able to just be like, you know what, fuck all that and just go somewhere else.
If he was eating by himself without his family, would you have sat down and talked to him?
I don't think I really want to. That's the thing is, it wasn't necessarily like, I didn't want him to come to me and try to be friendly. Because I feel like I have to, nah, we're not talking. You know, you did what you did. But I'm not going to go out of my fucking way to make this a thing. You know what I mean? Because once it gets going, it just gets going, bro. And it's just going to turn into what it turns into. So I think it's just better to just, I genuinely don't give a fuck about you. I don't care how you're doing. I don't care if you're doing bad. I don't care if you're doing good. It's just better if we just go our separate ways. And that's it.
If he saw you in the restaurant, walked over to you and said, you know something, man, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for cooperating against you and all the pain and sorrow that brought to you. I'm sorry. I'm taking responsibility. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just done my time and not cooperated.
I'd probably accept that. Yeah, because it doesn't serve me anything to take it any other way, you know? But now if he tried to act like he was on some gangster shit, then it's like, all right, let's play. You know what I mean? But it just, the thing is, like, the specific person, when I never actually exposed him. Out of everybody I exposed, I never made a video on him. Because
really?
when I got out and I actually looked him up, I found out he had a daughter. And how he looked was nothing like how we were back then. It looked as if he completely changed his life, moved out into the fucking country, was working a job and was taking care of his kid. There was no facade, there was no image, there was no trying to be a gangster. There was nothing there. So to me, it was like, for what? It seems like he moved on. So why am I going to hold on to it?
Well, and think about where you are right now in life. You have a successful YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers. You're making legal money by going into a room in your house and doing a video. No one's out to get you. You don't have any street beef. You pay your taxes. You have actual fans now, right? You go out and people ask for photos and stuff like that, which always feels nice. I don't care what anyone says. If I'm having a bad day and I go outside and someone like, yo, man, I love what you do. Can I take a photo? Like that cheers me up.
I'll say this. I went to one of them shits where they got the seafood thing in the bag. And you know that seasoning gets everywhere. Yeah. I had a white tee on, bro. I got stains on my shirt. You know, I'm white as fuck. I got fucking sauce on my face. I go to the bathroom. The kid in the bathroom recognizes me. And he's working there, so he asked to take a picture. I'm like, yeah, I got you. I'm trying to wash this shit off. I know my shirt's still fucked up. So he asked the other girl if she can take the... She's like, oh, that's 1090 Jake. I want a picture too. So now I'm taking pictures with the both of them. And then another couple eating. They want to take a picture. And all I'm thinking about is this shit I got all over my fucking shirt, my face. And I'm just like, yeah, what up? But nah, it's like you said, it feels great. It feels great. And, you know, I'm always appreciative of anybody that's supporting me and, you know, and what I got going on.
Imagine giving all that up and being back in jail, especially with all your priors. Like, let's just say you ran up on him and just beat the shit out of him. And you caught an aggravated assault felony because of it, because you did some real damage to him. Back in jail, like how much time do you think you'd get for aggravated assault right now?
I don't fucking know. In Florida, I think that's a second degree, so like 15 to 20 up to, you know. I'd be out of there, bro.
Yeah, you could kiss this YouTube career goodbye.
Yeah, it's like, it ain't even how much prison time, it's how much time has to go by to where nobody gives a fuck about you on YouTube. That's like 6 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
You go 3 months without posting a fucking thing, you're pretty much out of there. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about some years, you're done. It's over with.
Well, I'm glad you're mature enough not to do anything. I applaud your maturity.
I appreciate that.
You know, because I know, like me and Maynard were talking about this the other day. Like, as a man, when you're in the same room with someone who has said something about you, had a problem with you, it's so hard for me to just not walk over and talk to the person. Not in an aggressive manner, but just talk to him. Like, for example, me and Joe Budden had been beefing for 15 years, right? He had said when he sees me, it's on sight. He told me to suck his dick, blah, blah, blah. You know, told me, he said on video, I'm going to fuck up Vlad when I see him. We ran into each other at Bergdorf Goodman, which is like a high-end, department store. And I look over and it's Joe Budden. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him and I'm like, oh. So I walked over to him. And I put my hand out and we shook hands. But I wasn't getting that energy that it was like, he wasn't mean mugging me. He was like looking at me.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, we shook hands and I'm like, hey, bro, congratulations on, your success. Great work. He's like, yeah, congratulations on yours too. How's your family doing? Cool. He asked about my family. We cool. We shook hands and we kept it moving. That was it. DJ had made some comments about me. And we were at a, listening party and I look over and I see him. So I just walk up to him. I'm like, hey man, listen, like, I respect everything you've done. Like, what you're doing with TDE is dope. You were part of the whole Kendrick pop-out show and, you got the show with Elliott Wilson, and I just feel like, I heard you said a few things about me and I just feel like as two people that are in the same overall field, we do better when we don't beef with each other. He goes, nah, bro, I respect you. It's just like some of the stuff that you do, I don't quite agree with, but it's never really any disrespect. I'm like, all right, cool. We shook hands. And then this girl that, had introduced us, she wanted to take a picture. So the three of us took a picture and that's that. Well, last question. And this actually hits a little close to home because I'm from the Bay Area. You did a whole video about this Oakland female rapper named Tan the God.
Right.
Who got killed at the grand opening of her beauty store. But the reason why she got killed in the background story is kind of insane.
Yeah, she did a thing where she was basically talking about smoking on her ex, and she did interviews talking about she's fighting a case or beat a case in which she killed her ex in self-defense. Then she got killed. So when she died, people were bringing up the interviews of her sitting next to the fake tombstone and she's like, oh yeah, I'm smoking on my ex, fuck him, The whole thing was it was supposed to be metaphorical for leaving a dead relationship in the past. And she's done things like this in different ways. But she was on some like thoughtful rap type shit. You know what I mean? It didn't actually have to do with a real person. So everybody pretty much came out was like, fuck this girl. Like you got what you wanted. You were dissing the dead. Now you're dead. Ha. And then details came out that people came and confronted her boyfriend in front of her. And when things became physical, she pulled out her gun and shot. And they shot back and she ended up getting killed. So she made a song about a fake person that never existed. That was metaphoric, whatever. But she actually died putting her life on the line for her boyfriend who was being confronted by armed people that were masked up. She opened fire. She got hit with a switch. And that's how it all happened. And until that video, she really never got the recognition or respect that she deserved for how she went out, Like, I respect anybody that's willing to lay their life on the line for somebody else. She didn't have to do that. But she went and got her gun and pulled it out and shot first.
Okay, so I guess I never quite understood the story because it seemed like when I first heard the news, they kept saying, oh, she was bragging about killing her ex. She was bragging about smoking her ex and everything else like that, but she never killed her ex.
She never had an ex. She was in a relationship. She was just talking about leaving dead relationships in the past and not letting it further affect you. It was all she never killed anybody. But one of the things that confused it was there was a YouTube channel that found a similar case out of Oakland of a girl who shot her abusive ex in a car, and everybody assumed that that was Tan the God. That was her story, and it was a different person.
But didn't she sort of feed into the clout? She didn't try to like dispel the rumor in a certain type of way, or not really?
Nah, she didn't dispel it at all. Like, she was letting it build because that's essentially what she was trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think she never really got to clear it up. But then again, the time in which she was doing those interviews was way before she got killed. So back then, it didn't really get all the attention until she died. And then everyone was like, oh, that's the reason she died. Fuck her. And that's just how it went.
So why were those guys trying to confront her current boyfriend?
I have no idea. Apparently, one of the people that's arrested is a rapper, affiliated with whoever, whatever. It just turned into a confrontation. Shit got physical. Her boyfriend got pushed. Guns got pulled. And she shot.
Look, I lived in Oakland for a while, and I love Oakland, but Oakland has just gotten kind of crazier over the years. I remember just recently I saw an interview with the owner of In-N-Out Burgers, right? She's a female. Her parents had started it, but I guess her parents died in a plane accident, actually. So she inherited the whole franchise because In-N-Out is not a public company. It's owned by her. And she explained in this interview that out of all the hundreds and hundreds of In-N-Outs that she started, all over the West Coast, Oakland was the only In-N-Out that ever got shut down. Because every day there was some sort of crazy incident. Stabbing, shooting, robbery, cars getting broken into, fights. And she also said that the police would get called and take a long time to arrive. And she finally just said, look, based on the safety of our staff, we have to close down this location.
Right.
This has never happened. I have never seen an In-N-Out get closed down. In-N-Outs are always packed. It's one of my favorite burger spots. The fact that the only time in history, In-N-Out's been around probably for like 50 years, the only time in history that they've had to shut down an In-N-Out, not because it wasn't making money. It was making money, but the fact there was so much crime that was happening that they just had to, out of safety concerns, they just shut down the whole restaurant. And that's it. Oakland doesn't have an In-N-Out anymore. I mean, the whole Bay is messed up. Like San Francisco just shut down a Bloomingdale's, like another department store gone out of downtown San Francisco. The Bay has always been home for me, but the shit that's happening right there between the crime and the homelessness and the drugs. Remember the CEO of a major, it was the CEO of Venmo got killed in San Francisco? Yeah, the founder of Cash App, Bob Lee, got killed right there on a public street in San Francisco. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And, rest in peace, Tan the God. I'm sorry that, because I had always heard, oh, she was making fun of the dead. And then, it almost, you kind of assumed that, that person's, loved ones came and got her in revenge. But
yeah, it was a grand opening for a beauty store. It was a Black-owned business, so they were trying to show love to Black artists by letting them perform. And it looked more like a block party, if anything. And that's just how it played out.
Yeah, well, rest in peace, Tan the God, man. I hate to hear it, especially from someone from a city that, I call home. The Bay has always been a place that I always go back to. I grew up in. I went from elementary school all the way through college. I was in the Bay. Yeah, man, I hate to hear it. Rest in peace, Tan the God.
Definitely.
Well, that's what it is. 1090 Jake, another one in the can.
Yes,
definitely go check out, Jake's YouTube channel. Always some dope shit. I feel like you don't upload as much
Yeah.
Like there's, you know, like you see a bunch of videos, then you see like a month pass with no videos. Is there a reason for it?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how I want to structure everything. You know, I took that advice from you last time with the interviews, and I did an interview with Trap Lil Ross.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yo, good job on that. I like that.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So that's all it is just figuring out what's the next best step. And but I plan on pumping out more content and getting everything back to how it was.
Yeah, I mean, everyone does things differently. I just feel like as a content creator, and this was my original plan back in 2008, you know, VladTV is now in the 17th year of business. I feel like even if it's just a short clip, I try to release something every single day.
Right.
Because I feel like if I don't give them something that day, there's a million other channels that are giving them something new that day.
Exactly.
So I just want people to have a reason to keep coming back to the VladTV YouTube channel. You know, we're now at 6 million subscribers. And I just want my real fans, my real viewers, like every single day, I'll give them something. I mean, these days it's about 10 somethings, you know,
Yeah.
10 different clips.
Well,
But-
I mean, still at this point, I'm a fucking one-man army. I'm still the only one doing everything. All the
gotta
own
expand,
editing.
man.
I tried to get an editor. The first thing he edited got demonetized. I was like, fuck. So I don't know. I'm still working on that. But as far as what I'm doing right now, it's still all done solely by me. And yeah, I just got to get back to pushing shit out every single day.
Well, I could tell you, if you look at anyone on the Forbes list, show me one person that doesn't have a massive crew behind him.
Right.
It just doesn't exist. Like, the whole thing about business success is that you have to learn to let go of certain things that you do and get other people to do them and pay them fairly and get good people and just keep trying to focus on the one thing that's sort of unique where you can't offload that. But a lot of stuff can be offloaded. Just because you hired an editor and that video got demonetized doesn't mean that every video he does is going to get demonetized.
Right.
You know, you still have to train people. You can't expect people to just hit the ground running. Like, this is why right now we have 11 employees total, but I have a video manager. So there's a guy who's well paid, you know, a little bit older than everyone else, and he overlooks everyone's work to make sure everyone's, you know, all the video editors, the shooters, the quality control people, everything else like that, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Because I realize that, for example, me managing people is not my strong suite. Like I sometimes get too emotional and, you know, and whatever. Like, I'm not the best manager, but I now have someone else to do that job, so I can just focus on doing interviews, which is something I feel that I'm good at. So you have to learn. You'll never be able to, you know, expand your output if it's just you. You know, you have only so many hours in the day. A certain number of hours is going to be spent sleeping. A certain amount of hours is going to be spent eating. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do it all, and there's no way to expand if you try to keep doing it all yourself. So if you could hire a good editor, you know, someone that could edit better than you, you know, or you could take someone and teach them to edit in your style. You know, I always like to hire young people because, you know, like, they're open to actually learning new ideas and everything else like that. Like, you know, like my barber who I've had for like, oh my God, like 12 years, I met him when he was 16 in a barbershop. You know what I'm saying? But he's been cutting my hair ever since. You know, the various people I have in my company, there's people that have been with me 5, 6, 7 years that, you know, now know what to do with their eyes closed. But that's because they learned over time. Right. So if you want to expand your company, now you're going to have to give up some money in the process. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, you'll make more money because your output will be increased.
Exactly.
You know? So that's my 2 cents. You know, you can take it how you want.
Definitely. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course. 1090 Jake. Till next time. Peace.